Hello again, guys. So I'm back in the bedroom again with the bedroom altar. I'm still figuring out where best to make videos in this flat. I think the lighting is a little bit better in here, so I might try this in future. I wanted to talk a little bit more about tarot and reading for myself, and how going forward with tarot I really want to focus on a very kind of naturalistic perspective on tarot, where I don't even want to address the possibility of reading for others. I don't even want to think about how that's possible or how to interpret the cards messages for that when I'm doing my tarot study. I really just want to build on my tarot knowledge now and start building up a bank of techniques and ways that I can use tarot in order to not only explore myself and explore my emotions and essentially maybe journal or do kind of self-development work, self-love work, that kind of stuff, shadow work. But I also want to maybe consider how I can move forward into using it more as a spiritual practice, maybe as a tool of reverence, a tool of worship, and that kind of thing. And that's something that I really haven't really focused on at all before. It's not something I've explored, and it's something that now that I'm really moving into just focusing on tarot for myself rather than for others, that is something that I want to open up the doors to. I've noticed that over the last year or maybe more, that more often than not when I draw tarot cards for myself, I don't use spreads. And when I do try using spreads, or at least when they're spreads of my own devising, but most of the time when I do try to use spreads, I find that the readings just kind of fall flat. I kind of fall into an old way of reading where I'm trying to sort of predict the future, where I'm drawing cards and seeing what they forecast and so on and so forth. And I'm finding more and more that that just kind of falls flat for me, because I start to feel that the whole thing is a little bit defunct when, as I said in the last video, I've really gotten to a point of very strongly not feeling as though that is possible. Never mind with tarot cards, I don't think it's possible at all. And I've been finding that the best and most organic way for me to use tarot is just to draw usually 2 cards. That seems to be a good number for me to go with, and not even think about necessarily the traditional associations, because they do pop up into my head organically because I'm so familiar with tarot at this point, but not even think too much about the traditional associations and what kind of divination meanings might be attached to them, but just to start a flow of writing or a flow of thought. I don't even always take the time to write this stuff down when I do this, and over the last year I more often than not have not had the time to sit down and journal, but I will have the time to say, draw 2 cards, lay them out on the table, have a look and just think, what does this bring up for me? What is this getting me thinking about? And that has been really, really valuable. I've been really, really surprised by the extent to which that is valuable, because the way I see it, whatever these cards stir up for me, whatever emotions, whatever feelings, whatever line of thought they stir up for me, there's obviously something about that going on in the back of my head. And especially if I draw a card and I kind of think, oh no, one that maybe traditionally would be associated with a negative outlook, a negative reading, if something like, or even not, even if it's just a card that I just don't really like, that I just didn't really want to pop up in the context of what's going on for me right now and why I'm drawing cards, that is also a really good opportunity. And I know other tarot readers have said this, and tarot teachers have said this kind of thing before, that can be a really good opportunity to figure out, well, why is that making me uncomfortable? What is there about that message, about that particular symbol, about that particular kind of combination of concepts and scenarios that makes me feel uncomfortable? What is there that I'm avoiding? There's something about the situation that I'm in, or the way that I'm operating right now in my life. There's something about that that's making me a little bit uncomfortable that I maybe don't really want to have a look at. And bringing up those cards can be a really good way to bring that to the surface and to really show me what it is that I'm avoiding and what I'm avoiding addressing. So yeah, I find that I can actually do this without even journaling at all. I can actually just draw 2 cards, lay them out on the altar or on my desk, have a look at them and just start thinking about them. But obviously the best way to do this is by journaling, and this is something that I have been doing for a long time. This is something I have done in the past, where I will often use a spread, but like I say, I really love the organic kind of feel of just drawing a couple of cards at random and not even thinking about spread positions, and just feeling out for myself, how do these two cards interact? What do they have in common? What do they both evoke together? And I think that's why two cards work so well for me, because it's not too complicated, it's not overly complex, but it's enough for them to play off one another. And from there, once I've drawn two cards, like let's say that I am spending more time journaling, doing shadow work or whatever, then after I've drawn the first two cards, I might draw more to kind of expand on the thoughts that I have had and to expand on the focus areas that I've raised. But starting off in that very organic kind of unstructured sense is really, really useful for me. Going forward into incorporating them into spiritual practice, I would be really interested to see how I might start, rather than, because when we do that kind of drawing a couple of cards and journaling about them, we're often kind of working through struggles that we're doing right now. It's a form of self-analysis, it's a form of emotional release and processing our emotions. But when you think about it, there's actually, the sky is kind of the limit for if you draw two cards and start writing what kind of subject matter you might decide to write about. And I know some people suggest using tarot cards to do sort of bardic kind of stuff to help you with your creative writing. I know that Carrie Mallon, I really hope I'm pronouncing her name right, because otherwise I've been saying it wrong for years now. But I know that she has written a lot of blog posts about using tarot cards for helping you with your creative writing, for helping you write a novel. I'll link her website for you down below if you don't know her already. I'm sure most of you do, but she has a wonderful kind of way of using the cards, looking at the cards and positing the cards for use in creative writing. But that's not even what I'm getting at. I feel like I wouldn't necessarily, for the kind of purposes that I'm talking about now, I wouldn't necessarily be wanting to use the cards to inspire anything as structured or as formulaic or as focused as a creative project like writing a novel or a short story or anything like that. Really, I just want to think about how I can use the cards to write, say, about my feelings of reverence or about my feelings about a certain time of the year. And rather than focusing on the messages of the cards in a sort of self-development kind of capacity, I want to start thinking about how I can lift or excavate meaning from those cards and from that symbolism that resonates with me on a different level from just self-development or looking towards building a better future for myself or analysing myself and my emotions. I want to start thinking about what those messages can say about the feelings of reverence, how they can direct me in my worship of particular deities or the divine in general, how they can really help me explore and express my sense of connectedness with cosmos and my sense of, like I say, tapping into the energies of the wheel of the ear or whatever it is. And I think, although this might sound maybe a little bit obvious, like if you draw cards and start journaling about them, of course you can write anything you want, but I think the tendency is for us to stick with the kind of self-development kind of angle, because if we kind of look at tarot cards not necessarily as something that we use to predict the future, a fairly obvious naturalistic way to use the tarot cards instead is to focus on the present and focus on self-development from a here and now kind of perspective. And that is really, really useful, and that is definitely a large part of what I want to develop for myself as I use tarot going forward. But I think that if we just focus on that, or if we just focus on that and the bardic technique, we're definitely missing out on a lot of potential for the kinds of stuff that we might unearth and the kinds of stuff that we might write. So I'm thinking going forward, rather than just using the cards for writing about myself and my emotions and my life, my mundane life, I want to start writing about my spiritual life, my spiritual self, my spiritual emotions. I want to take out my book of mirrors and write a dedication or a devotional to the Morrigan or to the gatekeeper, and use tarot cards to inspire that. Use tarot cards to really dredge up aspects of that and my emotions surrounding that I maybe had never tapped into before or hadn't realised were there, to structure kind of new ways of approaching divinity. and maybe to help me structure ritual and think about how I want to bring what I learned to ritual the next time that I'm sitting at the altar. Yeah, I just, these are just some of the thoughts that I've been having, and I haven't really experimented with this yet, but I'm really loving how excited I'm feeling about tarot again, just thinking about all of this. It's really getting the creative juices flowing for me, just thinking, if I just throw out all of that stuff that wasn't working for me, if I really just accept that that's not for me, and that's just how I am, and I can't force myself into that paradigm, if I just do away with that and say, that's fine, there are so many other people who do tarot well and who do that well, let's let them do that. Like, let's let all the other wonderful tarot readers of the world read for other people and focus on that stuff. How about I just do what I'm good at and what makes sense to me and what really reflects my own worldview and my own spiritual practice and my own kind of desires in my life generally. Because as much as I think it's important for me to have self-care in the sense of journaling and being open to my emotions, being aware of my own emotional realm, there's a lot more that I need to bring into my life in order to be the happiest version of myself. There's a lot more to my inner world that I want to strengthen and express more. And I really feel like tarot, because it resonates with me so much, because it just excites me so much, because I love shuffling a deck. I love drawing the cards. I love the symbolism. I love the structure of the deck. I love all of that kind of stuff. I love just the almost infinite variety of interpretations and systems of meaning that can be attached to the deck. And if I love it so much, then why not use it more? Why not use it more for different avenues, different aspects of my life? So I'll leave that there. There will definitely be more where this came from, I hope, as I go forward with this kind of vague project that I have in mind, and I will keep you guys up to date. I will let you know how it goes and what techniques I develop and all that kind of thing. Take care, guys.